Sino Forest bondholders have a pretty hard choice ahead of them. The Chinese-Canadian timber company, fending off allegations of fraud, says it won't be able to file third-quarter results this week as planned. That puts it in breach of some covenants with bondholders. In a technical default, bondholders can either negotiate a settlement with Sino Forest or go to court to try to recover what's owed. The problem here is Sino Forest assets are in China. Property law there, not exactly the same that we're used to. Alex Shashevsky is a managing partner at Recovery Partners. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
This whole story has actually alerted a lot of investors to the complexities of investing in a company that may be listed in Toronto, but have all of its back office and operations in China. And we know the regulators are looking at it. When it comes to bankruptcy, how complex is that? You specialize in recovering assets.
Right. Well, China has, on the surface, the same type of bankruptcy law as you have here in North America. They passed a new law in 2007. The catch is that they haven't really applied the law, and courts haven't been willing to hear bankruptcy cases there, and the government's planning to introduce supplementary regulations. So it's really very much a gray area in terms of how this thing could shake down if it were to go that way. The other issue with the Chinese bankruptcy law is that it applies to Chinese companies operating within China and also Chinese companies operating outside of China. Now, what is Sino Forest? Is it a Chinese company at all? Does this law apply? So there's a whole raft of jurisdictional issues here with this thing.
A couple of questions. First of all, if China wants to tap global markets and get low cost of capital in the long run, they're going to have to resolve issues like these for the long term. You have to have a vibrant bankruptcy process so that you can recover assets. Otherwise, you just can't raise any capital. I'm going to make the assumption right now that rates on debt and other ADRs have gone up because people are looking at this situation saying to themselves, how do I know what I own isn't another fraud?
Well, yeah, and it's highly unlikely that the bondholders in this situation are going to be able to recover anything, because when you initiate a lawsuit, not only do you have to be comfortable in the strength of your case, but you have to be comfortable that you can enforce collateral and receive payment at some point in the not-too-distant future. That's not clear here. We were doing business on a private equity basis in Europe in the 1990s, and the laws in Italy are quite similar. You can't enforce collateral very easily. So if you're a mortgage holder, it might take you 14 years to collect against your collateral if the mortgagee is in default. It's quite similar in China. It's not clear how it shakes out under their rules and regulations, particularly with the status of Sino Forest being up in the air as to where is it actually domiciled. What is this company? Is it Canadian? Is it a Cayman company? Is it a Hong Kong company?
In this case, the investors are certainly in large number Western and in large number Canadians.
Oh, yes.
The bonds are trading, my understanding, at 35 cents on the dollar. So
no, they're already,
less than that?
Last trade yesterday, I think it printed 25 cents.
Okay, so pretty disastrous levels. If you were advising a bondholder, what would you say? Would you say hang on and wait to see if they can turn this thing around, or do you start the litigation process of bankruptcy?
Oh, it's a tough call. I mean, if you get into that litigation process, the bondholder groups, the class, will have to fund the action. Right. And that could run, I mean, this inquiry they've run says so far cost $35 million. I mean, there's no telling how much a lawsuit of this nature could end up costing. And then, again, when you get to the end of the road, you may have won your case, but if you can't realize against that decision by realizing on some collateral, you're toast. And it's not clear who owns these trees.
Let's talk about the assets.
Exactly.
Regardless of whether there were 35%, 50%, 80% of the assets actually exist, there's a whole market of stress vulture investors out there that are wait for these bonds to get to 15 cents. And then it may become interesting. It may be worth funding the litigation because you've basically got thousands of hectares of forest in China, which is a valuable commodity and continues to be so as it grows to the sky.
Yeah, but assuming you can evidence security on those assets. The Chinese have been in workout mode with bad bank debt since the mid-90s. They set up 4 bad banks in the late 90s, Huarong, Great Wall, China Orient Asset Management, to take all the bad assets off the banks. The realization proceeds on their activities have ranged from realizations of 5 cents to maybe 40 cents on the dollar or on the yuan over the course of the last 15 years since those entities have been in existence. It's not clear what's actually owned in this case. The forest may be under some kind of leasehold arrangement. There may be a lot of backhand payments that have generated this profile for the company, enabling them to access that resource and use it. People may have been paid off in the process in order to get those company directors in the position they're in China. So, getting the toothpaste out of the tube, once it's back into the tube, once it's out, in this situation could be very, very difficult for the bondholders. This could go like that.
Would you agree that this is probably a bit of an eye-opener for Canadian investors that are looking at other such investments?
Oh, absolutely. Well, this is the largest so far cross-border event like this. But back in 2009, there was a company named CY Holdings that defaulted on a loan obligation to Maple Trade Finance. It was about a $10 million deal. And there was some litigation. Maple Trade, chased them through the courts under the BIA, Business Insolvency Act. They ended up getting a decision saying that the defendant needed to pay. These guys basically closed shop and left. Never heard from them again. They're gone. Toast.
All right,
Left town.
Alex, good to have you here for this.
Thank you very much.
Alex Yershevsky is managing partner at Recovery